What happens when a city's simmering tensions finally boil over? Los Angeles found out on June 6, 2025. That morning, ICE launched sweeping raids across the city, targeting workplaces in the downtown fashion district. The city's daily rhythm was shattered as news spread, hundreds detained, including children. Families were left in agony, desperate for answers. Mayor Karen Bass condemned the raids, saying she'd received no warning, and community leaders called it an act of intimidation. The Service Employees International Union's president was among those detained, fueling outrage. For many, this felt less like law enforcement and more like an assault on their community. The shock quickly turned to anger, setting the stage for confrontation, not just between protesters and police, but between city, state, and federal authorities. The spark was lit. Los Angeles was about to catch fire. The city's fabric was torn, and the consequences would be felt far beyond that Friday. By Friday afternoon, crowds gathered at the federal building demanding the release of loved ones. The protest began peacefully. Chants, signs, families united in outrage. But as night fell, tension escalated. The crowd swelled, frustration boiled over, and confrontations erupted. Some protesters hurled objects. Police declared an unlawful assembly and moved in. The unrest spread. On Saturday, rumors of more ICE raids drew crowds to Paramount, where clashes intensified. Federal agents deployed smoke, flashbangs, and pepper balls. The chaos was palpable. Fireworks, bottles, even a car set ablaze. Injuries mounted, arrests followed, and the city's anger deepened. What began as a plea for compassion had become a volatile street battle. The city was now in crisis, and Washington was watching. The stage was set for an unprecedented federal response. The weekend would change Los Angeles, and the nation, forever. Images of burning cars and chaos reached Washington, prompting a swift response. President Trump invoked Title X, federalizing California's National Guard, without state approval. 2,000 troops were mobilized. By Sunday, hundreds stood guard at key federal sites in LA. The sight of soldiers on city streets was jarring, a stark show of federal power. Defense officials warned this was just the beginning, with Marines on alert at Camp Pendleton. For some, the Guard's arrival brought relief. For many, it felt like an occupation. The city became the epicenter of a national power struggle. The question was no longer just about immigration, but about who truly held control. Los Angeles was under federal watch, and the stakes had never been higher. The National Guard's deployment ignited a war of words between Washington and California. President Trump accused local leaders of failure. Vice President Vance called protesters insurrectionists. ICE officials blamed Mayor Bass and the LAPD for a delayed response, claiming chaos forced federal intervention. California leaders pushed back. Governor Newsom called the move a political stunt, insisting local authorities had things under control. The LAPD refuted claims of inaction, citing complications from federal agents' own tactics. Local law enforcement reiterated their refusal to participate in mass deportations, focusing on keeping the peace. Congresswoman Berrigan argued the crisis was manufactured by federal overreach, not local incompetence. The clash exposed deep rifts over power, responsibility, and the meaning of justice. The city's struggle had become a national spectacle. Beneath the headlines, this was a story about people, families torn apart, communities living in fear. Hundreds, including children, were detained. Neighborhoods were gripped by anxiety. Yet the community's response was resilient, protests driven by solidarity and a demand for dignity. The city council condemned the raids, echoing the pain felt across Los Angeles. Law enforcement walked a tightrope, vowing to protect all residents but refusing to act as immigration enforcers. The events forced Angelenos to confront hard questions about identity, justice, and belonging. As the city begins to heal, the scars and the debates remain. The story isn't over. The balance between security and compassion, and who decides it, is still up for debate. What do you think? Join the conversation as Los Angeles and the nation reckons with what comes next. Stay tuned for more on this developing story.